So all this stuff that's been going on in the media right now, especially with this Broderick Jones situation, it's pretty much kind of what I've been saying in a couple of my past videos, talking about the Pittsburgh media, talking about how the Pittsburgh media takes a lot of what Tomlin says out of context and just reports it to try to spin a story because they know it's going to get clicks, it's going to get ratings, and this Broderick Jones situation right now is getting ridiculous, man. Pittsburgh media has to be better. It is sad. Whatever happened to journalistic integrity in this country? Because it's painfully obvious right now that there is no journalistic integrity when it comes to the Pittsburgh media. They are literally fabricating a story based off the fact that Dan Moore is getting first team reps in practice. Which does that mean he's going to start? Yeah, that shows signs that he's going to start without question. But Broderick Jones, after all the media spin and the media hype, this is why players buy into the Tomlinisms of don't buy in to the minutia, because he talks about the media, how they're going to spin stories. There's probably so much stuff that he talks to his team. He gave that big speech this offseason about reasonable expectations, and this is just clear speculation, and they are reporting it to be a fact that Broderick Jones is not going to start and Dan Moore is going to start. Signs show that he is going to start. And you could speculate all day. And if you want to give an opinion and you have a talk show, that's fine. You can have your opinion. Broderick Jones, Dan Moore, Broderick Jones. And obviously, the statistics point to Broderick Jones should be the starter. I mean, we moved up to get him in the first round. Dan Moore's been terrible. One of the worst graded offensive linemen in the league, offensive tackles, at least. And I can understand why the fan base and why the media would write that he should be the starter, but to actually come out and report something based off pure speculation, that's against journalistic integrity. You're supposed to report the facts of the matter. It's one thing to write a column. It's one thing to go on a talk show and give an opinion. It's another thing to write something as fact when it's really just clear cut speculation. And with the interview that just came out today about Broderick Jones, it's obvious that the media reported it, and then you get all these columns, and it just keeps their companies and their puppets working and gives them stuff to churn out even more contact. Madden came out with a thing, Dan Moore's set to start. So he based his whole column to bash Mike Tomlin today off pure speculation. We don't know who's starting. Broderick Jones doesn't know who's starting, and maybe they do. Maybe they are keeping it in-house, and that's why, that's what Tomlin is preaching too. You got to keep things in-house. You don't go out there and tell the media everything. You don't go out there and tell them the game plan. And, especially coming up against a big game on the road where the Steelers have to travel and go into their stadium and get this win. I mean, are the Rams a powerhouse right now? No, but they're not no scrubs. They got some talent on that team. They got some very talented wide receivers. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Matthew Stafford, who can light it up any given game, any given Sunday, through a 5,000-yard passer. But they got a lot of injuries at the running back position and everything like that. But we don't know who's going to start this game. So all this speculation is it's the Pittsburgh media is getting old. And if anybody needs fired, it's some of these people in the Pittsburgh media. But they're not going to get fired because they bring in the ratings. I bet you the Trib, if any company, I bet you that was the one that initially reported this, I could almost guarantee it was the Trib, because that's who Mark Madden writes for. And they're very conservative. And let's be honest about conservative media, especially in today's day and age. They're not that honest, and really none of the media is honest anymore. News has become opinion and not news, and this is just bigger than sports. This is a whole broader thing throughout the whole entire country in all of journalism. That is like a doctor has a Hippocratic oath to uphold. to not give your personal information and try to treat you the best they can. That journalistic integrity is supposed to be the oath. You're supposed to report facts. You're not we're supposed to report speculation. You're not supposed to spin a story completely based off speculation. You report the facts. Dan Moore is getting first round reps or whatever, and then you ask the question: is he going to start in this game, and why he should and why he shouldn't? But to report it as straight facts, that goes against your oath as a journalist that you have to uphold, and all the little things that happen throughout the media. They'll take a little quote, spin it out of context, and I'll cherry pick people's resumes like Mike Tomlin and so on and so forth. Jaylen Warren has a couple good games in preseason, and somehow, some way, some insider, quote unquote, says Jaylen Warren has a chance to subvert Najee Harris, and then all of a sudden it becomes a thing. All of a sudden it becomes something that Najee Harris is not a good running back or something, and Jaylen Warren's better than Najee, and Najee's job somehow in jeopardy. This dude's a two-time 1,000-yard rusher behind one of the worst offensive lines in the entire goddamn league with one of the worst offensive coordinators in the entire goddamn league. His job is as secure gets. I mean, if we're going to talk about straight resume, if we're going to talk about straight statistics and straight production, what player on this offense has more production than Najee Harris? What player the past 2 years? There hasn't been one. He has been our best player on offense the last 2 seasons with a pathetic, piss poor offense, a pathetic, piss poor offensive line that can't hold a block, a quarterback who had a horrible QBR last year, threw more interceptions than touchdowns last year. But we can't criticize the golden boy, Kenny Pickett. And you know what? I'm not going to criticize because I agree with that. Honestly, that it's too early to judge what Kenny Pickett is and what Kenny Pickett isn't. There's a lot of problems on the offense that's not just on him, but some of the problems obviously are on him. The interceptions, throwing behind receivers, throwing ahead of receivers, holding on the ball too long, bailing out of the pocket and trying to extend the play and not standing in the pocket and looking down his receivers and just maybe taking a sack instead of trying to roll out, and then you lose 6-7 yards because you're trying to do too much with the ball. You're trying to go and you get sacked behind the line of scrimmage, way behind the line of scrimmage. And that basically just spoils the whole drive, and that spoils that whole possession, because once you're in 2nd and 17, once you're in 3rd and 17, the percentages of picking that up are pretty much slim to none. All right? Slim to motherfucking none. So it's sad. And all these people in the media want to talk about fire, 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 fire. It seems like the only people that really need to be fired is the Pittsburgh media, because all they do is speculate. All they do is take people's comments out of context just to get ratings by bashing this team, which is currently ranked 9th in the power rankings, which was first in the division before the Ravens won this weekend. And we have a chance to go back to first in the division with a win, and if Baltimore loses. And we still got a lot of easy games on the schedule. We've had a pretty rough road this first quarter of the season. Now we got some very winnable games coming up. Jacksonville, they're not no scrubs. The Rams, we got some easy games coming up. The Cardinals, the Patriots, the Colts. We've already beat Cleveland. We've already beat Baltimore. We got Cincinnati twice. It looks like they're starting to turn it around a little bit, but they've been playing horrible. Joe Burrow has not been playing good this year, and their defense just doesn't look the same. I think Cincinnati's defense is soft. So I think, we have a chance to win 10 games this year and get into the postseason. And a lot of people wanting to throw Broderick Jones in there. It's good for him to sit on the sidelines. It's good for him to learn. It's good for him to get these reps in practice. And like a lot of people say, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. So when it comes to December, when it comes to January, when we're in the playoffs, which I think we're going to make the playoffs this year, at least slide in on a wild card. These guys Joey Porter will probably be getting full team reps for purpose. So patience is a virtue. To act like you should throw your rookie right out there in the fire when there's so many problems on offense. So the media, this same media can't go out there. If Joey Porter Jr. has one bad game and we're going to go out there and slander him and write that he's a bust and he never should have been taken, and then they're going to spin, oh, this is terrible, Tomlin, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't imagine the speculation if Joey Porter Jr. went out there and shit the bed, especially if you put him out there every single rep against the Julio Joneses, against the Tyreek Hills, against the Amari Coopers, against these top receivers in the league, Devontae Adams, who's one of the best route runners in the league and has been putting up crazy statistics. It doesn't matter who's covering him. So who are you going to go with? You're going to go with a 13-year veteran in the league who has proven over 13 years, or are you going to take Joey Porter's 5 games? 5 games. And that's how Madden. That evidence suggests that Dan Moore's Broderick Jones is better than Dan Moore. Evidence suggests that Joey Porter Jr. is better than Patrick Peterson. Well, Patrick Peterson has been doing it 13 long years and has been a top tier cornerback in the league his entire career. So just because these guys go out there and have a few bad games, or just because these guys go out there and have a few good games, that's not the tall tale of their story, their resume, and their talents. Yes, I think Joey Porter Jr. is talented. Yes, I think Broderick Jones is a fucking... I just look at the fucking guy. Look at this guy. I mean, he's a mauler. But he's a rookie. He still needs to learn the game. He still needs to get used to the speed of the game. And it's just a whole different ball game, the NFL media, and how the NFL is ran as a business opposed to college, which, yeah, it's still kind of a business, but it's different in a sense. You're not on contract. You don't have to, you're not under the complete microscope like you are in the NFL. They're not going to be bashing players 24/7 like they are in the NFL just to get ratings, just to get clicks because you use a big name in the NFL and it's trending or whatever. So really, Pittsburgh media should be ashamed of themselves because there's absolutely no journalistic integrity. And I would love to know who came out with this report and who originally, quote unquote, reported that Dan Moore is going to start this game, because he's came out and said nobody knows. So if anybody should be fired, it's that guy right there. That guy right there. And we're going to have hopefully we have a good game. Najee came out, said something. He's working with Canada, working with Mason Cole to implement things they like. And I could see him possibly having a breakout game. I could see Kenny having a big game because I don't think the Rams secondary is that good. He's getting Deontay back. He's getting Freiermuth back. We're getting McFarland back. So, and the Desmond King thing, who really knows what happened with the Desmond King thing? I mean, who knows? We thought he was going to be good, or is he just one of those players that Steeler Nation likes to overhype, like Kenny Pickett, like Kendrick Green, like Doxton, like Artie Burns, like Jones, like Mason Rudolph, like Devlin Duck Hodges. I mean, there's it's so many players that we just overrate and overhype in our minds, in our heads, and it never pans out. We're a mediocre team that has talent, but we have some holes on the offense and the defense that is just terrible, that do need to be replaced. But that has to come into the off season. That has to come when you address those things. We're in the middle of the regular season. All the talented free agents have been signed. We're going to have to wait to get a draft. We're going to have to draft players, and then we're going to have to go and attack in free agency, obviously in off season. And Omar Khan has set this team up with this Kenny Pickett contract at quarterback to have a window, a 3-4 year window to where we can really go out there, sign some free agents, and really plug in players around a roster with some very great talent on it, like a Minka, like a Cam Hayward, like a TJ, like a Highsmith, like a Najee, like a Freiermuth, like a Deontay, and like a George Pickens, who's looking like he's the real deal, man. He's the real damn deal. George Pickens. That guy can do it all. That guy can go up and get the ball. He's got hands, and he can jump. He got speed, and he's just got that dog mentality to where any given Sunday, there ain't nobody that can guard me. And he's just got that mentality that you kind of need in a wide receiver. As much as, it might rub you the wrong way a little bit because he's cocky or whatever, but that's really what football's all about. Is you got the confidence and you just go out there and you just dominate. And he's really been playing well in the receiving game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is going to probably open a lot up for him with Freiermuth coming back, with Deontay Johnson coming back, because those are the type of guys that we haven't really been attacking the middle of the field. And without Deontay is basically that intermediate route running type of receiver to where he attacks the middle of the field with little flag routes, little post routes, little slant routes, little curl routes, little screens, and you can get the ball out quicker to Kenny Pickett, and it's going to make the defense have to press up, maybe run a cover 2 to where they only have 2 men over the top, and it's going to set George Pickens up for easy single coverage matchup on a safety, and I trust George Pickens to come down with that ball 7 most of the time against the safety, and he'll just go up and get that shit with his hands and his athletic ability. And he's only going to get better. And a lot of these young guys that are still on rookie contracts are only going to get better, like Freiermuth, like Najee, like Pickens, like some of these young dudes on defense, DeMarvin Lill, Keanu Benton, Joey Porter Jr. These guys are only going to get better. They're learning the game, and patience is a virtue, because you want to keep these guys healthy. You want to keep these guys fresh. And then come playoff time, you put in a young, fresh Joey Porter Jr. You put in a young, fresh, unbruised, unbattered Broderick Jones to go out there ready and hungry to make a statement on the biggest stage in the NFL. And then what are all the Raiders going to say? They're the greatest. They're the best. Blah, blah, blah. But if it was the other way around and we threw them out there too early and they had 2 or 3 bad games, that's the media was going to try to define that as their career. Just like the media and Mark Madden slander Tomlin on a day-to-day basis by cherry-picking his resume and want to erase his Hall of Fame resume by cherry-picking the last 2-3 years that kind of suit their narrative a little bit, but it still doesn't really suit their narrative a little bit. At the end of the day, Tomlin's 8-9 in the playoffs. At the end of the day, he has the best winning percentage in Steelers history. And at the end of the day, he's going to finish the top 10 coach all time in playoff wins and NFL regular season wins all time. So the Pittsburgh media is pathetic. They will do anything to create a story, to create drama, to get clicks. And it's just sad, and it's really pathetic at this point that there's absolutely no integrity from these so-called quote-unquote journalists in the city of Pittsburgh. They should be ashamed, and they don't deserve to have that job. Mark Madden wants to talk about credentials all the time. You shouldn't have any media credentials ever again, the way you slander and spin stories on a day-to-day basis.